Where'd you grow up exactly?
I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, and I spent most my high school years in 2 hours away in Peoria, Illinois.
So you were about 2 hours from Chicago?
Yeah,
Okay, so like how much time did you actually spend in Chicago versus the other area?
I probably spent about 1/3 of my life in Peoria, and the rest in Chicago. I've been in Atlanta a little bit. Um, I've lived in Bloomington for like 2 years before. I've been in Iowa a little bit. Um, I've been a little bit all over.
Why all the jumping around to different places?
Really, a lot of it was out of my control because I was younger. Atlanta was like my own decision because that was me actually grinding and, moving around with my music. So, but everything else was more so when I was younger, like my father or my mother, things like that.
Okay, now you had mentioned in another interview that your mom actually had some problems with drugs.
Right.
Okay, and what was she on exactly?
Crack cocaine mostly. Later on, it kind of went into a little heroin too.
Okay, now I have people that are close to me whose mothers was on crack, and the stories I've heard are pretty crazy. So what do you think was the hardest part being a little kid and having your mom on crack during that time?
Just knowing or seeing, um, somebody that you love be in a whole different mind state to where it seems like they're in another world, or like they possess. So I think that's really what it was. Like they just can't snap out of it. Even when you're trying to talk to them, or show them love, or walk up to her and give her a hug as a kid, and it's just like you could just tell she won't remember it. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen a lot of times when someone's mother is on drugs like that, they don't, a lot of times they have a hard time handling the responsibilities, like paying
Right.
the rent, paying the electricity,
Right.
having food in the fridge, that type of thing.
One thing about my mom, like we was living in the projects, so we on Section 8. But as far as the things that we needed, like money and food, she would my mom she was a hustler too at the same time. So she would do things. It'd be like times where I'd be across the street from our project building and I'd be damn near embarrassed, because I would look across the street and like the drug dealers, some of the known drug dealers or like the GDs that lived in our building was like, you would see their cars out front. My mom would be like, uh, washing one of their car, like with a bucket and a sponge, shit like that, or going to old ladies' houses that we know and going to the grocery store for them, to go shop for them, and bring back their groceries for them. But she was making money. That's how she would hustle, and I would tell her like, Mom, why you doing this? Or why you washing their car? Or why you doing this? And then she would tell me like, this is what this is what I got to do so we could eat. And I could be doing worse, or I'd be like, my friend such and such, me and my friend got into it or had a fight because he said this about you, and she, everybody know everybody's business in the project, so it'd be like, and she'd be saying I could be doing worse things, or like his mother be, turning tricks or doing this or prostituting, things that I didn't know as a kid, that now I could use against one of my classmates that I be arguing with and shit like that. So it's at the same time my mama, she like some of the drug dealers and shit like that in our building, they used to tell me sometimes too, like, your mom, she gonna be all right, man, or, you gonna be cool. And a lot of people always had respect for my mom because they seen like how she hustled and she a hustler, and how much sense she got, how street smart she is. And to me as a kid, I'm just looking like shit. In my head, all you niggas is fucking drug dealers, and even though you being nice to me, I don't know if you're not selling this shit to my mom or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not really trying to hear none of that shit. So that's why I had the mentality as a kid of a lot of anger and shit and animosity as far as to where I felt like, when I get big and get a lot of money, that I'm gonna buy a whole bunch of guns and just kill all the drug dealers.
So you felt that the drug dealers were the reason why your mom was in the
Right. I felt
situation
like
she was
anybody
in.
that knew my mom, any any older kid or older boy, to me, that's what I felt like they was doing. You sell drugs. My mama do drugs, so you probably selling to my mom. You know, so that's how I took it.
Yeah. So you said at one point she started doing heroin.
Yeah.
Now heroin is an even more serious drug than crack.
Right.
Like heroin is it becomes physically addicting. It's like you start to hurt if you stop taking it.
Right.
What really changed you think once your mom started getting into heroin?
I low key didn't know it was happening because I would say it probably started happening once our project buildings got tore down, and she moved to these projects we was called the Ickies, and at that time that's when I went to Peoria, Illinois. Like I was in going to high school there, and I was playing sports, football, basketball, and track there, and so I kind of really like got notified by my older sister, like, yeah, mommy doing this now. You know what I'm saying? She doing this and this. You know, she got some new friends, and this what they do. You know, so I wasn't actually in the house with her much as far as living while she was doing that. But when I did go see her and visit her, you know, I could just see in her face, like, you know, or the shade of her skin or the tone of her skin, it doesn't look as, you know, as smooth or as bright, you know, as it usually does. You know what I'm saying? Like she probably like my skin color a little bit lighter, and I could just see kind of like a dark kind of like a dark like glow, like kind of like over her skin, you know. And it looked bad, you know. I could tell the difference between her just using crack, you know, all my life for the other years, you know. So yeah, that's basically it. That's probably really like the main difference. But whenever she's sober, you know, she's always that same person. She's a kind and caring mother. You know what I'm saying? And I can hold a conversation with her, and she's in her right mind. You know, so it's like those times is like the times that I really like cherish. You know, the most with her.
Where was your father at during this time?
When I went to Peoria, Illinois, that's where he was at. He's from Chicago too, but he actually he ended up going to Peoria and getting married to a lady who was living in Peoria. So that's why like I had went there with him.
So was there a point where you went to go live with your dad because the situation with your mom was getting bad?
No, it wasn't why. It's just like, you know, some kids is like after being with this parent for so long, you want to go, you know, you miss this one. You know what I'm saying? And it's just kind of like just really I was just always going back and forth, you know. So it was just like when I go back to Chicago, my you know, my friends like, man, where you been? You know, and I'm like, this place called Peoria. And they, what the fuck is Peoria? You know, and I'm like, you know, telling them like, you know, it's a little, you know, town, but they, you know, they basketball crazy. You know, like they was a big basketball city. You know, so it was kind of live as far as like sports. You know what I'm saying? So I like all my artists that I got right now, I met them while I was in Peoria. You know. And we kind of really started our music thing in Peoria, you know. And I always would come back to Chicago and shit like that. And, you know, my friends, they were like, you know, we heard your CD and, you know, all this other type of shit. So I'll be selling CDs from whatever city I ever went to, you know what I'm saying, traveling and doing stuff and hustling and grinding. I always had CDs with me and everything like that. So it was just crazy just to see people that I haven't even talked to yet already have heard my music, you know, or got it, or got CDs and stuff like that.
During that time, when you were younger, and you were living in the projects, your mom was on drugs, were you actually getting involved into the street shit yourself, or was seeing that enough to make you not want to fuck with it?
She the reason why I never sold no crack, like, cause I felt like, you know, if I love my mother, I'm sure it's other people out there, they love their mother just as much as I love mine, you know, and I wouldn't want anybody to sell my mother anything like that, you know. So I refuse to do that to somebody else, you know, put them through that, you know, just for a quick dollar, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, weed doesn't have that type of effect on somebody, you know, as far as crack cocaine or, you know, heroin. things like that. So I I'm not no saint. I've condoned and street shit and got in trouble and been in trouble and did my time and all that type of shit and got punished or whatever. But that's that.
So have you ever actually been arrested?
Yeah. Shit, I just called my third gun case. I'm fighting that right now. I beat one. I was found guilty for my first one. I beat my second one, and I'm fighting the third one. And I caught a case some years ago for possession of marijuana, some pounds of shit.
When you caught your first gun case, how much time did you end up doing?
Everybody was saying 60 days. That was my first offense. Everybody was saying, "Oh, it's your first offense. You gonna get probation, all this other stuff. You gonna get probation. You ain't gonna do no time. All this stuff." I still end up getting 60 days and probation.
60 days, 2 months.
And 2.5 years probation.
Okay. What about when you got caught with the pound of weed? What happened then?
I beat that case. It was some shit like the trunk was full of it, and and it wasn't my car, So who the fuck looks in the trunk before they get behind the wheel, And
Yeah.
so that's kind of like how I beat it.
And then now you have a third gun case that you're dealing with right now.
Right.
Okay. And where is it at right now? Is it you're getting ready to take it to trial or?
Yeah, it's basically being beat basically. I've taken it to trial. It's nothing much.
When you look at some of the stuff that you used to do, when you talk about getting arrested and some of the various cases that you've beaten and not beaten, do you feel like where you are right now, you got to move a whole lot different?
Yeah, you gotta learn from your mistakes, and move forward so you don't find yourself running into the same thing again, because all this is a waste of time, a waste of money, court fees and fines and, paying lawyers and, gas money and all that, missing shows, different type of things like that, And my gun cases is like everything I was doing, like I've always been independent, and on my own, So it's like, I'm when you real street niggas moving from state to state and city to city, it's like you got to be on security, or your niggas is your security, So it's like these are the type of things, that every artist I think that's major right now started off, like they was their own security at first, one point in time before they had the money to have swole ass bodyguards and that type of security around them, It's like your niggas was responsible for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that type of situation, But I got homies and shit that, got a few clean records and stuff like that. So I'm making them, get on their shit and, get they Ford and their gun license and shit like that so we can move around the right way and we ain't got to do it the old-fashioned way.
That's the problem, that until you could afford real security, you end up using your homies who end up sometimes getting you into more shit
That's true.
than you originally even got into, because now you have to deal with what they just did and they're connected to you, and it ends up being a cycle almost.
He tried as much as he could, but he couldn't make it. But we pretty much knew that it was a slim chance that he was gonna make it in the short time that we made this project. So we just kept moving, and it's us four on there.
A heterosexual man doesn't mind planting seeds of being gay in your mind, of himself, just in order to propel himself with popularity and money.
Do you know who does this?
In this society.
Do you know who else does this?
Who?
Daylight.
Ah,